Now, let me talk about the effect of afforestation on environmental and socio-economic changes in arid regions, specifically in China, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia. You are seeing the aerial photos of plantations of saxauls and pistachios in Tajikistan. Let me show you some photos of dry land. First, it is from the southern Tajikistan, very dry shrubland. Next, dry grasslands in Uruguay in southern hemisphere. Dry lands in Namibia, Africa. As you know, dry regions are very vulnerable to natural and artificial disturbances, including climate change. Therefore, we need to pay more attention to dry regions. Here we see eucalyptus and pine plantations in dry grasslands of Uruguay. We know that large-scale afforestation with a single tree species is taking place in many dry regions. It is true that there is debate about the pros and cons of a single tree species afforestation. However, I would like to focus on the positive aspect of afforestation in this presentation. Let me talk about effects of afforestation on environmental changes. Case study 1 from China. I have a short video on Inner Mongolia, China. As you see here, it's very dry there. 15 to 16 years ago, we started to plant trees, including drought-tolerant Chinese poplar trees, popularis, some willow trees like this. Here you see a gradual change. A in 2009, B in 2013, C in 2015, and D in 2017. Obviously, you see much more trees in 2017 compared to the previous years. Last year, I had a chance to visit the area again. I was surprised by the big change in the area. What happened there? Enhanced vegetation index was 0.07 in 2006 before planting trees. It increased to 0.12 in 2016. This figure is very close to the natural green area of 0.17. Also, the amount of moving sand at the planting site was 1 to 5% of the desert site. In addition, in 2015, over 35 species of living creatures and 20 other plant species are growing together with the artificially planted trees. We see dramatic changes in physicochemical properties of soils after planting. Here you see a rapid increase in magnesium, potassium, nitrogen, and carbon concentrations in soil after planting trees. When I visited the area again last year, I took soil samples from dry area, poplar planted area, and willow planted area. I mixed those soils with water. Here you see differences among soils. Clearly, we see the increase of soil organic matter after tree planting. Now, let me talk about the case study 2 from Kazakhstan. One afforestation ODA project supported by the Korea Forest Service was conducted to introduce black saxaul in the dried RRC bed, Kazakhstan. I was deeply involved in the planning, implementation, and monitoring phases of the project. Let me show you a video from Kazakhstan.
Представители лесных служб стран Центральной Азии и Южной Кореи. Парк площадью более гектара будет расположен недалеко от Орды и Дома министерств. Возводить его начали в 2015-м. Южнокорейские инвесторы уже вложили более $1 700 000. Дизайн сада выполнен в корейском традиционном стиле и будет символизировать сотрудничество Казахстана и Кореи. Также две страны намерены реализовать проект по восстановлению экологии осушенного дня Аральского моря. Он предусматривает озеленение площади в 30 000 гектаров недалеко от Кызылорды.
Лесная служба Южной Кореи совместно с коллегами из Казахстана разрабатывает план осуществления проекта по восстановлению экологии осушенного дна Аральского моря. Работы по сохранению экологии планируют начать в октябре этого года.
He was explaining the project plan of planting saxaul in the dried RRC bed, Kazakhstan. This is a video of a dried RRC bed, Kazakhstan. You see very dry soil there. Some areas in dried RRC bed looked like this. What happened there? There was a dramatic decrease in water of the RRC. You see photos from 1973 left and 2020 right. Here, let me show you one video.
Korea Forest Service and the Kazakhstan Ministry of Ecology have started the joint project in the sphere of forestry management. Two countries have signed the memorandum for implementation of this project. The specialists of the forest services of both countries have started the work on planting the saxaul at the dried bottom of the Aral Sea. The meeting with the Korean party representatives was held in April 2018 in the territory of Kazali Forestry, during which the current issues have been discussed, as well as the current and future actions plans. the purchased machinery, and the project-related territories have been shown. The representatives of the Korean Forest Service held a social campaign for distributing the apple tree seedlings to vulnerable social groups of ITKB settlement. Aral and Kazali Forestry established the ameliorative planted vegetation in the light loamy soils with arenaceous apron, basing on the recommendations of the Kazakh Research Institute of Forestry. Strip plantations of saxaul were arranged at the distance of 30-35 meters. This arrangement is confirmed as well by the data on distribution of stable second growth around the mother trees. Ameliorative vegetation has been planted in 2-row strips. Saxaul is a desert flower which is capable of surviving the fervent heat of the desert and salt marsh depletion. It protects the sandy soil from the winds, preventing wind erosion, and allows for preserving the natural ecosystem of the desert.
We planted saxaul trees artificially in dried RRC bed. This photo shows changes 3 to 4 years after planting saxaul in the dried RRC bed. This story was widely known through broadcasting. Let me show you another video.
Новости Хабар-24. Напоминаем, мы работаем в прямом эфире.
В 2018 году специалисты Корейской лесной службы помогали высаживать саксаул на осушенном дне Аральского моря. Эти деревья появились на площади 13 тысяч гектаров.
중국의 내몽고 지방에서도
У меня есть опыт участия в проекте по предотвращению пустынных земель в Китае. Также я участвовал в проекте в Казахстане. Дно Аральского моря расположено высоко, и добиться хороших результатов в сравнении с пустыней очень сложно. Несмотря на это, в Казахстане накоплен достаточно большой опыт, получены хорошие результаты и найден соответствующий именно для этого региона подходящий способ высадки.
На Всемирном лесном конгрессе казахстанская делегация изучала корейский опыт и возможности получения финансирования от Зеленого климатического фонда ООН.
Коллеги из соседних стран, это Узбекистан, Таджикистан, Кыргызстан, говорили, что ежегодно будут высаживать от 6 до 30 миллионов деревьев. Я вам скажу так, в Казахстане в прошлом году было посажено порядка 138 миллионов. Весенняя посадка составила 100 миллионов.
Владислав Цой, Ольга Лян, Хабар-24, Южная Корея.
He is telling you the success story of saxaul planting in the dry area in many aspects. We investigated environmental changes after tree planting and published several scientific papers based on our investigation there. We studied carbon storage after saxaul plantation. Mean carbon storage was 9.70 carbon gram per square meter, ranging from 1.12 to 30.61 carbon gram per square meter. Although biomass and carbon storage were smaller than those in previous studies, afforestation enables carbon sequestration as well as restoration of the dried RRC bed. We also studied the species richness in planted area. We found 7 plant species belonging to 4 families. It is consistent with the species richness in natural succession. Of course, the highest species richness was found in the oldest afforestation area. It shows self-propagation in the planted area. This year, we published another important paper on effect of vegetation on topsoil properties in the dried RRC bed. We took soil samples from different areas, including saline sites, naturally vegetated sites, artificially vegetated sites, and bare sites, and analyzed them. We found increases in soil carbon concentrations with vegetation age, both in naturally vegetated sites and artificially vegetated sites. I won't go into details of the figures. You see trends of either increase or decrease in soil properties with vegetation age. The paper concludes, our results indicate vegetation-driven nutrient and organic matter accumulation as well as the possible removal of salt by root exudates in the surface soil. Overall, vegetation contributed to soil amelioration with similar effects observed at naturally and artificially vegetated sites. So far, I have talked about the effects of afforestation on environmental changes using the two case studies from China and Kazakhstan. Now, I will talk about the effect of afforestation on socio-economic changes using the case study from Mongolia. I think most of you are familiar with Mongolia. As you know well, the main industry in Mongolia is livestock farming. They produce seedlings for plantation using greenhouses and open field nurseries. They plant trees in desert area and grassland area. Of course, they do agroforestry practices also. They have incomes from tree planting, including production of juice using tree fruits. In addition, they generate income through ecotourism using forest. Let me list some socio-economic benefits from planting trees in the country. First, diversification of livelihoods, including seedling production, agroforestry, and ecotourism, etc., from animal farming. Second, community-level activities such as cooperative and fund operation. Third, education and training. Fourth, partnering with governments and volunteers. With the three case studies that I mentioned, I can summarize the story like this. If we adopt nature-based solution using afforestation, we will get resilience. In other words, we will get environmental and socio-economic changes or benefit, and then finally we get to sustainability or sustainable development. Now, there is a final challenge. Is afforestation economically viable? Let me show you one case study from the Republic of Korea. The Korean landscape in 1950s and 1960s looked like this after the Japanese colonization and the Korean War. From 1973, we implemented the active reforestation project. Actually, there were three principles. First, nationwide tree planting. Public participation in planting and tending were strongly encouraged. Second, fast-growing tree planting. Poplars, black locust, and alders were planted to prevent floods and erosion as a first phase. Third, economically valuable tree planting. Pines, larch, spruce, firs, and other economically valuable trees were planted for long-term goal. After the successful reforestation project, our landscape changed like this. A modeling study evaluated the average annual public benefits of reforestation, 1,337 million US dollars during the period of 1971 to 2010, and the average annual cost of reforestation, 220 million US dollars during 1960 to 2010. The ratio between benefit and cost increased from 0.07 in 1972 to 5.84 in 2010. In other words, investment to reforestation was very economically viable. This figure shows increasing trends of cost and benefit after reforestation activities. Cost increased slowly while benefits increased dramatically after reforestation. You can find all details about the study from the publication of UNDP Policy Brief Series number 1. Lastly, let me summarize my presentation. First, sustainability is the most important priority, and forests have key roles in climate change. Nature-based solutions have various environmental and socio-economic benefits, especially in dry regions. Vegetation introduction, including afforestation, seems economically viable based on the case study from the Republic of Korea. Again, you can find more information from the UNDP Policy Brief Series publication entitled Sharing the Experience of the Republic of Korea in Nature-Based Solutions Approaches, Enhancing Resilience for the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much for your kind attention.